Hey, hey. Let's see if we can get Aileen on. Hey, Charles. Say, got some folks joining. Hey, Erika. Hey, Aileen. Hey, Cornell. All seeing some familiar faces. Let's see. Oh, there you go. Hey, Aileen.
Hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. Hey,
There,
Lynn.
there we
Happy
go.
day to wear black.
Right, I'm like, we both out here matching today. Yes, so we'll let a few people, let the folks join in. All right, we're up to 10 viewers. Say that again, you're breaking up.
I said I see everyone joining the chat. Am I still breaking up?
No, you're good, you're good.
Oh, perfect.
Yes, welcome to Club Chat, Krista.
3 before 11.
3 before 11, right? That's so funny. Yeah, so we'll get started soon. We'll let some more people join in. Hope everyone is having a great, it's Wednesday. I was gonna say Friday.
Right, right. This week is going by fast, but slow at the same time. I don't know if it's just me.
It's, I think I feel the same way because I'm like, how is it just Wednesday, but tomorrow's Thursday? So
Right.
I don't know. I'm just,
Yeah, so it's like you're moving, but not moving fast enough, but you're still moving.
so yes, we got the twist out and Bob going to I
Yeah.
see the comments. Yes, so we'll go ahead and get started because we have some really good questions tonight. So
Okay.
before we get started, we want to introduce ourselves. So my name is Tiara Bland. I am the Chief of Staff for BSPN. I am also a professor at California State University, and I am located out in Sacramento, California. So shout out to all the West Coast viewers, and I'll hand it over to my co-host.
Hey y'all, so I am Aileen Milford and I am the Director of Marketing for BSPN, and I am also a postdoc resident in private practice in Houston, Texas. Woo woo,
Woo!
town.
Yes. And so I know we have probably some new viewers who may not be familiar with BSPN. So just so everyone knows like what our vision is, like we are here to support, elevate, and advance the work of Black school psychologists and including graduate students. So we are all so happy to see you on tonight watching our IG Live on Back to School Part 2. And so we're also going to have our guests come on. So we have Dr. Erika Wood and Dr. Charles Barrett. So if you guys are able to request me in, or I can request you, we'll see how this works. This is my first time doing it on our account. So let's see.
And welcome for our guests to come on the live. If this is your first time on our live, please let us know in the chat. Or if you are a returning, viewer, let us know in the chat as well. We want to see who's coming for the first time or who's, been with us for a little bit.
Hey, Charles.
Up.
How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Good, good.
Aileen, what's up?
What's up, mentor? Y'all, Charles is my mentor. He don't even know it, but he's my mentor, y'all. Like, I just claimed him as my mentor. Every time I talk,
Absolutely.
hey, mentor.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Is Erika?
What's up, Jasmine? And you can drop that doctor. You know the rules.
Let's see. I'm trying to get Erika on here.
Byron, you too. Krista,
App.
Not with the dad cat. How funny tonight. Charles, you still at work or you home?
I'm home, but if I keep this on, then I won't get too comfortable because I got a lot to do tonight after this live. So if I keep my
Okay.
shoes on, I just keep working, and I got stuff to do. So
Yeah, I see the lanyard. That's why I was like, what is going on? Okay, here comes.
what's up, Ronnie?
No, here I am. There it is. Hi.
How are
If you
you?
hear something in the background, I'm trying to multitask because I was just coming off of a Zoom meeting. I was doing a presentation on, I was part of a panel on supporting students with sickle cell disease because it's Sickle Cell Disease Awareness Month.
Nice.
So, yes, one of my many activities.
Got it. If you don't mind, turn background noise down maybe a little bit because it's kind of hard to hear.
Sorry. Okay, here we go.
All
It's been a day.
Nice. So, Erika, I'll have you introduce yourself first. Ladies go first. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and yeah, let the people know who you are.
Well, hello, everyone. I am Dr. Erika Wood. I'm a school psychologist in Baltimore County Public Schools. I've been a school psychologist. I'm in year 26. And I'm originally from the ATL. I'm born and raised. I'm a native. I grew there, didn't fly there. As we say, and I am currently president-elect of the Maryland School Psychologists Association.
Yeah.
So, hey, yeah, so pleasure to be here with the esteemed panel. Love the Black School Psych Network. Looking forward to the convention in April.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Nice. All right, Charles. I know you don't like introductions, but I'm handing.
I'm gonna say it quickly. I'm Charles Barrett, currently a coordinator of schools, of psychological services, Loudoun County Public Schools, which is just Northern Virginia, suburban DC. I'm in year 15 in the field. I practiced for 13, and the last 2 I've been administrative supporting school psychologist. I do some teaching, some writing and speaking, but glad to be here. Good to see everybody. Hey, in the chat, all of my my friends and colleagues. So great to be here and engage once again.
Nice. All right. So we're gonna, woof, y'all. We're gonna go ahead and dive into these questions because I thought part 1 was good. Like the questions that we have for part 2 are like just as good. So thank you to those that submitted questions back in end of August for the IG Live. We appreciate you all, and even those that submitted part 1 because we added those questions for tonight. So really, really appreciate you. So Charles, this question is going to be directed towards you. What is a better model for equity as it relates to African-American kids? Someone said, do you prefer the pattern of strengths and weaknesses or the discrepancy model?
Excellent question. So I would say briefly that all of the models are flawed. PSW, discrepancy, RTI, none of them are foolproof or perfect. I know NASP released a statement about kind of, our position on identifying SLD, and there's been a firestorm online about that. None of the models are really foolproof. As one that has been using PSW the last 15 years, I would say that PSW really is a more nuanced discrepancy analysis. So even that is still kind of in the same family as discrepancy. If I had to choose one, I would say RTI would be my approach, assuming that you have solid core tier 1 instruction meeting the needs of your students. I always reference the work of Bethlehem Area School District and what they did to really revamp their reading instruction some years ago, back in 2015. And they had some amazing outcomes for all of their students all across all of their schools. So I would say for all children, but certainly for Black students, minoritized students, I would suggest an RTI approach, again, with the strong caveat that we're not doing RTI in name only, but really the fundamentals of RTI having solid core tier 1 instruction, meeting the needs of most of our students, in gen ed. So that'll be my response. Second to that, I might go with PSW. I think the field does agree that a strictly discrepancy analysis is not good for anybody. But again, to be fair and in transparency, PSW is really a more sophisticated or more nuanced discrepancy analysis.
Got it. That's good. Yes, I know that was submitted by a graduate student, and I'm sure that they are learning about PSW, discrepancy model, RTI, MTSS. So it was great to share your perspective on that question. Aileen, you want to add the next one?
Yes. On to the next one.
Yes.
Yes. So Erika, this question is for you. Any advice for Black SPs who want to get into ownership or private practice?
Sure. So I think one of the things that people need to check is for private practice, you must have a license to practice independently. And you need to check the state where you're living and you want to potentially practice, find out what are the requirements for licensure. So some states, the requirement is a doctorate, either a PhD or a PsyD. Others, you can practice with a master's or a specialist. Some, if you have a doctoral degree, either a PsyD or a PhD, they want you to come from a program that is APA approved or accredited. Some require you to also have an accredited or an approved internship with that. Some don't. Some are just as long as it meets the standards of the program. Most states, or just about every state, has a board of examiners, and they usually have a website, and they'll tell you all the criteria. Also, to become licensed, you may need to do a postdoc. I just finished a postdoc because there's also a requirement about hours. So, and those hours vary depending on the state. So, those hours, I know in Maryland is 3,250 hours. And Maryland, for example, it can be a combination of pre-internship, so practicum, pre-doctoral, the internship you did while you were in your doctoral program, and postdoctoral. And if you have enough hours in your doctoral program, you don't necessarily have to do a postdoc. So again, some states require a postdoc, some don't. And also the biggest hurdle is you have to take a jurisprudence exam, which is all of the laws in that particular state. And you have to take the examination for the professional practice of psychology, otherwise known as the EPPP. It is a 4-hour exam. It is expensive. I'm enrolled in a course, Prep Jet. They don't pay me, but I was like, oh Lord. So that is very important that you and it's very important that you check those laws and what you're required to do. If you're not eligible for licensure, some states will allow you to become a psychology associate. And usually you're under the supervision of a licensed psychologist, and you can work in a private practice. And I'm going to highlight a book. It's on the floor. So in my grant program, we took a seminar on private practice. And this is a book, Your Ideal Private Practice. And so my professor was an African-American clinical psychologist in private practice in Philadelphia, has a practice on Walnut Street. And we had to do projects about what would be our ideal private practice. We'll be doing individuals, groups, assessment. And it was really, really helpful. So this has been really a good resource. And this is by Lynn Grodsky. So, it's a good resource because, and one of the things our professor told us is that this private practice is a business, not a hobby.
Yeah,
It's a business, not a hobby. And so that was like a really eye-opener for a lot of us in my cohort, because a lot of us are thinking about private practice. And she said one of the pitfalls is that you have to understand that this is a business. So you have to figure out billing. Are you going to take insurance? Are you going to get on an insurance panel? Are you not? There are issues about taking Medicaid, because when you take Medicaid, you're not going to get paid at the same rate that you would normally if you didn't accept Medicaid. And also because it's the federal government, sometimes they'll try to dictate how you conduct your practice, how you conduct your assessments, what assessments you do, what you include. And we were all sitting there like, what? And so she said, that's the reason why many private practitioners may not take Medicaid or may not take insurance. They may do private pay, self-pay, or a sliding scale. And so to me, that also speaks to equity and why we have so many folks of color that have limits or they don't get access to outside practitioners. So these are just some things that I think a lot of people want to do, but I would suggest you really do your research and do your homework. If you're like at a master's EDS level and you're thinking about it and you're in a state where you're not eligible for licensure, see if you could be eligible to become a psych associate and work under private practice and see how that works out. And to also know private practitioners, they're not beholden to IDA like we are in school. So you should also learn the DSM-5 TR now. It's a text revision. Learn the DSM-5 TR because those codes and the ICD-10, because those are the codes that private practitioners use to bill insurance. That's, again, it's very much in keeping with the medical model. So it's very different from schools, but I think having had that school experience really helps them because many private practitioners, they've been clinical psychs or counseling psychs. There are a few school psychs, but they don't always know the school language. So I think, if you're thinking about doing that, there are some options and avenues, but please do.
Got it. I think we may have lost her. Is everyone else here?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that was really good information. Aileen, I feel like she was just
Yes.
talking about what we were talking about earlier with billing, remember?
I will add to that because I'm in that process now. I'm doing my postdoc in a private practice. So it's different from the schools. So really learning about the billing and insurance. So in the state of Texas, as I'm studying for the EPPP, as Erika mentioned, we're considered licensed psychologists with provisional status, right? So there's certain insurance that we can take and cannot take. And also another resource I want to share is I'm using the AATBS, not PrepJet. AATBS is more extensive if you're trying to study for the EPPP. So that's another resource. But like Erika said, we're using ICD-10, the DSM-5 TR, doing collaborative care because a lot of insurance requires that. So, connecting with private, your clients' providers, like medical doctors, to show that you're really connecting in the community with that. So it's different from the schools. So really do your research. Know if you want to do self-pay or if you want to do insurance-based, because there's a lot of business in addition to providing services.
Yeah, that's real good. So, all right, we're going to go ahead to the next question. And so, Charles, this one is I kind of would say as a disclaimer, a controversial topic in schools right now. So someone submitted, being a Black school psychologist on campus and seeing how the police continue to brutalize our people. How do you feel about police presence at school? And how do you think school police presence impacts Black staff and students?
Great question. Real quick, I got to shout out my boy, Leon Lacey, not a psych, but thanks for joining Leon, and JB from Charlotte, two friends of mine. So thanks for joining tonight. Great question. I'm going to talk about this very plainly as a psych, but also as a Black man with having a stepson that came through public school, but also nieces and nephews coming through public school right now. I would say that there is no need for SROs or police in schools. We can call them safety and security. We can call them student resource officers. The bottom line, they are cops. They are police officers in school buildings. Now, in my career, I have worked with some fabulous SROs. So I think that two things can be true at the same time. You can know good cops and you can know great SROs. The problem is the system of American policing, and that has no place in schools. Just saw a video from a friend of mine, Danielle Larson, posted it on her stories yesterday, and the continual state-sanctioned violence against children, but especially Black children, not even minoritized children, but Black children specifically, is way out of hand. So there is no place for police officers in schools. Again, not discounting that there can be great SRO. They've been helpful to me in my career, but the system of American policing does not belong in public school. I'll also share that if we talk about being data-based decision makers, the data is clear, or the data are clear. There's a plural. Data are clear that police presence in schools has the most negative impact on minoritized students, especially Black children. So that to me is a very simple position, a very simple stance from where I sit, as a school psychologist. But I get that it can be controversial. But if you want to look at evidence and we want to look at what research has shown us for many, many years, it really isn't controversial, or it isn't complicated. There really is no place for police in schools.
Yeah, and I what people put it's really complicated. Erica, I'll get to you 1 second, because I even think back to like my high school experience where our school police officers were amazing. Like I still see them to this day when I go home and I see them at the grocery store in the mall. I'm like, hey, Officer Barney, or hey, officer. And because they were very intentional about connecting with students. They weren't policing students. They were building relationships with the students in our building. And that made a difference where it kind of changed my view of school police officers. But I know that is not the case at most campuses. And so I think that presence definitely varies by district, varies by community. It just looks different totally all over. So I think for me, and even at my schools that I was just at, like we had really good SROs that were really intentional about building community at the school. So it made a big difference. And Erica, I saw that you had,
I think it's complicated because I think it's not consistent across states and schools. And I think like Maryland, we do a really good job because we have a Center for School Safety. So there is a big difference between SROs and your standard Baltimore City, Baltimore County cops. And I also say there's certain things that you can't school psych your way with. Like if I have a student that has been sexually assaulted, I have to connect with my SRO to make that and to talk about, do we want to file a police report? And I had a very good SRO who just retired, and he made, and very intentional, made sure some other provisions. And I think also, even in looking at the data and the research, one of the things that's missing when I've looked at the research is that, did anybody talk to school psychologists that have had good experiences with SROs? And did they look at states or school districts that have a specific program and specific programmatic structure for SROs? Because say in my district, the SROs are trained. We have a conference every year. I had an SRO that got specifically trained in how to deal with kids with autism. But I also know that that doesn't look the same for some of my colleagues in other states. So I think even in looking at the research, you also have to have a critical eye of research, because things are not always as absolute as we want to make them see. And just say in Baltimore, just a few months ago, we had a student shot in a parking lot by another student that didn't go to their school after school. And they had SROs on site, and the SROs were able to take the other student in custody. And the young man that was shot, it was a fatal shooting. He was murdered in the parking lot. So I just think that there's a way to build community. I've never thought all cops are bad, but I also know there are variations. That's like all school psychologists aren't competent, and some are. So I think it's a little different. And I'd say a good resource is if you find Dr. Christina Connolly Chester. So because she does the prepare model, but really in Maryland, we worked really hard for our school safety, our school safety. We have a whole school safety program and the Maryland Center for School Safety, because we've not only had shootings, and how they kind of got started was we had a school district in Southern Maryland where this young woman was stalked by her ex-boyfriend, and she was shot and killed in school, and another student was caught in the crossfire, innocent student. He was shot, he didn't die, but that really triggered a lot of things because this was like Southern Maryland, kind of rural. This doesn't happen. So again, I get the side of no, there should be no police, but I've also been in those situations where they have been extremely helpful. There have been some things that they have been assisted our school staff because there's just a level that I can't get to. I can't help a child that comes to me. I can counsel, but just the other element of justice when this person is saying that they have been sexually assaulted. So, and those other kinds of situations that I think are beyond our scope and we need to kind of reach out, but also knowing training is different, perspectives are different. It looks different in different states and different school systems. And, you know, just fortunate to be in a state that has a really structured program. In our state, there's some districts, the SROs look different. And we have this debate even amongst the colleagues in my system. So, you know, it's not, I don't think it's all black and white all the time. My experience.
Yep.
Because yes, it can be true.
Yep.
No, I really appreciate both perspectives on this. Before we go to the next question, can we see in the club chat down there, like, how are you guys feeling? You know, are you guys receiving something? Because these are some great responses that we're receiving from our guests. So let us know in the chat.
Yes, I actually saw someone said they appreciate both perspectives. Nice. Yes, thank you. Professor Mitch, that's who, I don't know who that is, but thank you for that.
So this question is for Erika. How to go from one site to another and best strategies for unlearning an old site and applying prior knowledge to a new site.
Oh, that's a very good one. I would say even in the same state, going from one system to another, there will be some similarities, but each system does things their own way. They each have nuances. So there were things I had learned and had kind of been ingrained in one system. And then I went to another system and I'm like, oh, they don't do that here. And sometimes you'll find some pros and cons. So the current district I'm in, I found some strengths that my previous district didn't have. Like they were very, you know, they had a binder, there was a procedure for everything, just learning those procedures. And I think also this is where supervision really comes into play when you are somewhere that has really great and outstanding supervision. Because I know I used to joke, I said, I think I've worried my supervisor so many times because I would call like every other day. And I'm like, I know you're sick of me, you know, kind of like, you're going to be sick of me. And but it was great. And this is a person who had worked in our state department. And, you know, he would even tell me, you know, when I don't hear from you for like a week, Erika, I get a little worried. And I was in a pretty tough school and just trying to navigate and figure things out. And I think even going from one state to another, because I did that too, because, you know, different states do different things. I think it also presents as an opportunity to learn and grow and expand your skill set, and to not just be set in how a system or a state does things. I think if you know the federal legislation and case law a little bit, that's a good guide for you. And I know in Maryland, our Maryland State Department of Ed has technical bulletins on everything from 504 plans to SLD. They had one about you can say dyslexia. So that was also a really good resource. And then I would just kind of pepper some of the veteran school psychologists, because I think sometimes they're not used and they have a lot of wisdom. They've been there. We got battle scars, you know, and just even how to handle tough situations when you're in some tough ethical situations with not just with teachers, but with principals, administration. How do you navigate and handle that? What are your protections? I would say know about your teachers union. Most school psychologists are part of a teachers union. And in one of our local districts here in Maryland, the head of the teachers union is a school psychologist. So, you know, just know that, just know, you know, kind of the best defense is a good offense. You know, that's also been helpful. But I also, you know, look at it from a positive lens. As Dr. McClure would say, battle the deficit thinking. Don't look at it as a negative, but look at those practices that, that's a new perspective and a new way of doing things that makes sense, or some things you might want to change. And I think just I don't look at it necessarily as unlearning. I look at it as adding to your toolbox, adding to the card deck, and just knowing that there's another, there's I'm from the South. There's more than one way to skin a cat. And like, oh, okay, some still school systems or, online platforms are different. So, I don't want you to view it as unlearning, but just adding that other perspective, adding that other layer. And so you now, oh, there's another way to skin a cat. Okay, I've learned there's a way to do things. So that's the perspective that I would take. Not necessarily unlearning, but just you're getting a different perspective, and you're getting another lens of how this particular school system operates and procedures. And it's even when you have different schools, if you have more than one assignment, is it an elementary versus a high school, and how they do things and the requirements they have to meet. High school, we worry about graduation rate. They're not worried about that at elementary school. So again, kind of being able to balance those two. And I think having those wide, varied experiences, it really helps you become a better school psychologist, because I always say your certification is K through 12. So you got to be able to be with the big 12th graders to the little kids, pre-K kids on the floor that have snot on their nose. So again, it's again adding those perspectives that actually make you a better school psychologist.
Nice. Yeah. And I think we actually are becoming very international with our network. We actually have Krista, who's on our board, who is in Ottawa, Canada. And I know that I recently saw on School Psych Sisters that we have some Black school psychs that are in the Caribbean and elsewhere. And I think yes, and I think that is so cool at school psych that we are becoming international. And so I would just say, to add to that, it's just like learning what the special education laws and the systems, the public school system is out there, because it's going to be totally different than the US. And then, like you were saying, just seeking a supervisor, asking questions, find a mentor, find a community, because that's the way that you'll be able to learn the policies and regulations of your district. So shout out to all of us. Krista put in the chat, the Canadians love BSPN. So shout out to our school psychs out in Canada. You guys are rocking it. Nice. And so we do have a good question that was submitted, since we do have some time for maybe a few questions. And so Charles, this question is actually directed for you. It says, how do you manage both being a practitioner, NAS figure, and faculty member? I'm just going to say a man of all trades.
The easy answer, and I mean this with all my heart, the easy answer is you have to love what you do. Very, very few days do I feel like I'm working. Honestly, I'm driven by work. What's helpful on a very practical level is you got to get up early. I mean, I just don't know how else to do it. I have a full-time job. So I work before work, I go to work, and then I work after work. So I find a way to get all the work in. But it really, when you're driven by a sense of purpose and passion, it really feeds you. Thanks, Johnny. It feeds you as you're doing the work. So I would say that knowing what you are supposed to be doing also helps you to discern what you should not be doing. So I don't do it because I don't speak to everything, and that's just not me. But the things really align with my purpose, with a sense of passion, a sense of calling or assignment. Those are the things that I find myself aligned to. And then it's all just kind of this continuous feedback loop of being fulfilled while I'm also helping people. So the only practical thing I would say is I wake up early. I'm up most days between 4 and 4:30, and I get in 2 solid hours of work between that and 30. But I do that because once I get to work, there's folks emailing and, calls come in. You can have a day of nothing planned, and then it's like, how is it already 2:30? It's like, where'd the day go? So if I want to get focused time in to write and to think, I have to do that early in the morning. Now, that works for me. Some people are night owls, so the idea for me is that you have to understand
That's
how you're
me.
most productive and set aside time to make that happen. I would also say that money is not everything. And
Mm-hmm.
when I say that, I could have made more money working for a different school system. But where I work has always allowed me a good amount of freedom, flexibility to do things. So people say, well, how do you do it, Charles? How do you go out and speak? I take a vacation day, I go speak and come back home. I fly out after work, I go speak, come back, I'm out day. So not every job gives you that autonomy ability either. So you have to figure out what are the things that you want to do and then set up your life in different ways to make you able to do those things. So and my big bro is here, my real big brother just joined in. So thank you for that. Coming on tonight. But yeah, just a couple things that I've learned, but really stay focused on what you are called to do and
Mm-hmm.
not being afraid to say no. I've recently learned the importance of a slow yes as well. My I can do it, I'm gonna go do it, I'm gonna help somebody out. But now I'm thinking about, let me just at least slow walk this yes, maybe a day or two, just to kind of mull it over so I don't overcommit as well. So I'm gonna stop there, but really know who you are, what you're called to do, and then figure out the systems in place, be it where you work, where you live, and all those kinds of,
Mm-hmm.
all that just does easier and
Mm-hmm.
possible things
Yeah.
happen.
And I would just piggyback with your slow yes. I will say, let me think about it, because I had a colleague that emailed me about something, and I said, I'm gonna get back to you, but let me think about it. And to myself, I say, let me pray on it, and
Mm.
that's okay too. You don't have to say yes to everything. I'm a boundary person. I think it's because I come from a military family, but you don't have to say yes to everyone. And I think another perspective is, having that flexibility. I have some flexibility, but I think, Charles, because you're also in a supervisory role, you have a little bit more flexibility. And I think being in an environment that is supportive and that sees this is what you are doing. And, I'm just going to be real. It benefits them too. I was like, Charles, it benefits your school system too, because it's great PR for them. Hey, that's how they attract candidates to their psych services division. Hey, I want to work where Charles Barrett is. I mean, come on. I always say people don't allow you to do things and there's not something that they're just going to get out of it. That's just not how humans work. So, yeah, I mean, hey, this like, shoot, yeah, go to that conference. Hey, and come on back. But also empathizing and knowing that everybody is not in those supportive environments. I think for me, because I have some time in, I've been there, done that. That helps me too. And then I think the relationships I have with our supervisors and the staff at my school, and I know that everyone doesn't have that. So you have to navigate and negotiate. And you also have to get in where you fit in a sense. And there's a shortage. You don't have to stay somewhere for 20 plus years. You can move on. And I think, it's just good if you do a lot of self reflection and do what's good for you, do what feeds your soul. I'm not in it for the money, because I could be making a lot more money somewhere else. I could have left a number of years ago, but I decided to stay. And it kind of goes back to why. What is your why? Why are you doing this? I didn't want to be in supervision because I like working with the kids. I like providing those direct services with the kids. I didn't want to do anything that would take me out of not having direct interaction and direct services with kids and families. So I don't get all the emails that Charles gets. I'm not a morning person. Never have been. I'm a night owl, so I get a lot of my stuff done at night. And that's just me. So you really have to, I say, take a self inventory and really kind of dig down and find out and figure out, what is your passion? Why did you choose to school psychology? Why do you think school psychology chose you? What feeds your soul? And that helps you with discernment. Like you don't have to be everywhere and do everything, and you don't have to be part of the crowd. You don't have to do it because you think it's popular, it's going to get you seen. If I get seen, that's great, but I'm still just doing what I do because this is what I love to do. And when you love what you do, it shows. The people that make it look easy, they make it look easy because they put in the work, but they genuinely love what they do. They genuinely love what they do. Like Charles, it doesn't feel like work to me. I have my days, I'm like, ugh, but at the end, somebody will say something, a kid will do something. It's like, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Good stuff. And so, Aileen, we actually have one more. So I kind of want to briefly end on a good note of just like self-care. So like Charles and Erika, maybe you can share like one or two things that you do for self-care during the school year. Encourage maybe some graduate students that are trying to find some strategies, or even just early career or seasoned school psychs as well.
Well, what I started doing is I started to trying to take better care of my health as I'm getting older. And so I've like joined like Black Girls Run, Girl Trek, and we go walking because a lot of us are at a certain age where, no, we're not running 20 miles. Y'all need, we say, no, thank you. And I found a trail that's like not far from my house, and it's like a mile, and then there are loops, and it was great, and it's just nice to be out, and it's very green and lush. And I was like, I didn't even know this was here. And then finding all these trails that are here and there is great. And when you kind of connect with a group of people who are like-minded and have goals, and, I just like that they were Black women, and we all were like, we want to get in better shape. We want to take better care of ourselves. And then I like to relax. I like bath bombs, and I like to take a bubble bath. If I had a stressful day, I'll like, I'm taking a bubble bath, and I may have a candle. I may have my iPad and just have a speaker, have music playing. I've always kind of done those things. And just, I think it's important because I think for us in the helping professions, we help everybody but ourselves. And sometimes we think that it's selfish not to take care of ourselves, and we have to take care of everybody. And it took me a while to really like come to terms with like, okay, Erika, you got to take care of you. So, and it takes a while to do that. Sometimes it's better to be still. Like, I can't be running. I just need to be still. And, I meditate at night. I have a walk-in closet, and I go sit in my walk-in closet, close the door, and I just sit there and I just be still. That's my moment to listen to God, talk to Jesus, calm myself, and just be in tune with what's happening to me emotionally, physically, spiritually. And you just have to try different things and find the things that work for you. I have a friend that sent me this daily book of affirmations and prayers, and it's a Joyce Meyer book, and I read that every morning. Sometimes I read it in the evening. So just finding things, just like we work with the kids, and we try to help them find things to take care of themselves and to cope and strategize when things are tough. You have to do that for yourself. You have to do that for yourself.
Yep. Charles, what about you? What are some self-care strategies that you do for yourself?
So this is one of the areas where I would say do not do what Charles does. I don't have a good self-care practice. I'm getting better. I have to say one thing that I really enjoy is walking. I enjoy walking, so I try to walk on the weekends. In the summer, when I have a little more flexibility, with work, I walk in the morning again early, maybe 6 or 7 for hour and a half, and I really enjoy that. But outside of that, I really don't have any type of self-care routine. For me, I work, and when I'm tired, I stop. So if I just crash for a day or two, I just do that. What's up, Kenya Savage, good friend of mine from LCPS. But the other thing I would say is, if you follow me on social media, you'll see that my favorite movie in the whole wide world is Home Alone.
With
Home
the
Alone.
And your incidents and your milk, whole milk.
All of it. That's if that's fair, then I guess I do a lot more self-care in the winter season around the snow days, because when those things about it. But yeah, honestly, I don't have a self-care discipline, and one thing that I need to do better about. But if there was one thing, it would be walking. Even when I'm up early and I'm not working per se, just that's probably my favorite time of the day. Just early in the morning, when it's just quiet, think through some things, talk to God, but also hear God talk back to me. So it's really just kind of this moment that you can just have, with yourself. But one thing as a point of advice, I would say, as Erika has described, it is important to have a routine. If that's exercise for some, my wife loves to exercise. Walking is all you can get out of me, and that's about it. But whatever gives you that sense of release and just gives you energy, do that, because it is important, and it does make a difference.
Yeah, that's true. So I'm going up next. Aileen, you next with your routine of self-care.
I got you. Go ahead, Tiara. You want to go first?
Oh, okay. So literally right after this call, I am going to boot camp. I have been intentional about going to boot camp every Wednesday at 6 o'clock, because I'm like, I need to release stress of the day, stress of the week. So working out is definitely one of my forms of self-care. I love just sometimes doing nothing. Like I know Erika was saying, just being still. Like sometimes I need those moments, especially now that I'm teaching. I'm like literally talking all day, and I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do anything. I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to rest. So I'm learning that rest is okay. And I know sometimes we're used to being on the go, or doing this club, doing this activity, doing this NAS committee, or this and that. But it's okay to just rest. And also, I'm trying to see, what else do I like to do? I like to read. During the summer, I do like to read. I don't know if anyone uses a website called Goodreads. I make like a reading challenge every year. So shout out to any readers out there. And then kind of similar to Erika and Charles about like faith, like praying, meditating, and just talking to God. Those are some things I do as well for my routines of self-care. And Aileen, now I'm passing it back to you because you didn't share yet.
So I have come to learn to like nature walks since I've moved to Texas. So after this, I'm going to go do a walk. I'm not running, Erika. I'm walking. And like everyone else, like that faith piece, I really see a difference when I start my day with prayer and that stillness and talking to God versus just going right into my day. And I'm just enjoying like being still, right? And being more intentional of family time since my family's still in Florida. So FaceTiming and just laughing, right? Trying to find self-care things that doesn't cost. So I don't have to book a trip to feel like I'm doing self-care, but just hanging around the house and being intentional around community. So that's what I do for self-care.
Yeah, and I'll add one more last thing, because I know we got to wrap up, but also for self-care, surrounding yourself with positive people.
Yes.
I realized that in these past 2 years, there were people that I said, you know what, they do not need to be in my life anymore, and I have literally felt so much better. So definitely, word of advice, surround yourself with a good group of friends. That includes family members as well. And even coworkers, just making sure that you have a community as well, as part of just being, taking care of yourself, whether that's mentally, physically, emotionally, all of that. So yeah, so I'm going to see what we have going on in the chat. I see people putting some of their self-care practices, which is really good. Yeah, binging TV shows are really good too. There's nothing wrong with that. Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, Hulu, everything. It's always got something
Right.
there. So yeah, so this was really good tonight. I know we're getting close to that 5 o'clock my time. We're getting close to that 1 hour mark. You guys know Instagram will shut us down. So before we conclude, Aileen, do you want to just shout out to our viewers how they can learn more about BSPN before we head out?
Yes. Y'all, if you have not subscribed to our network, please head over to www.bspninc.com. There you can actually register for our summit that is next year. Y'all, we have including our guests tonight. Yeah, y'all want to be in the building, because if you're not in the building, you're going to be like, man, I should have been there, because everybody's going to be talking about it. So go ahead and register, subscribe for updates, again, at www.bspninc.com, and follow us on all social media platforms at The Black SPs, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Yes, and I guess Charles and Erika too, if you want to let your viewers know how they can follow you, whether you have like Instagram, well, of course you have Instagram because you're on right now, but Instagram, Facebook, or personal websites, let the viewers know.
Well, I'm not fancy like Charles. I have my own personal website and my own app with my affirmations and my chords. So I'm on Facebook at Erika Wood. You can find me. I found out I have someone I went to college. Well, I was ahead of her, but we have literally the same name. She just has an S on her name, so I'm thinking you might be my cousin. But and I'm on Twitter. You could tag me on Twitter. I'm EDW School Psych, and I'm here on Instagram. And so, yes, I'm trying to do a little bit more with social media. You know, I being at a high school, I learned from the kids. You know, they were like, you know, Facebook is for old people. So I'm like, so yeah, so those are my social media platforms. And yes, definitely check out the Black School Psych Network. I think it's very important, because I think other than this, the only other thing we had for us is the Association of Black Psychologists. And, you know, if you're on Facebook, you can send me a message. I do Messenger. And you can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Instagram. I love to connect and hear from people. And this has been wonderful. And I just want all of us to get the word out. I want to see more of us in this field that I love. And I want us to retain more of us too, because I see a lot of us leaving. And I know people have to do what they have to do, but at the end, I think it hurts our kids, our babies, and their families too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Charles A. Barrett, Barrett. Facebook is just Charles Barrett. Twitter at _Charles Barrett. The website, charlesbarrett.org. And the app is just called Charles Barrett. Just type in Charles Barrett. You'll see my initials, CAB, free in the App Store or Google Play. Down and then subscribe to Whole, WHOLE. There's a real short video on my Instagram page. You can DM me. I'll be easy, and then you'll get a short affirmation every morning, 8 a.m. Eastern. But yeah, stay in touch for sure.
Yeah, those
You like
right
Brown site, hardest working man in school site.
Y'all are kind.
Yeah. So like Aileen said, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Aileen, did you want to share our next IG Live, or do the people have to stay tuned?
Stay tuned.
Oh,
It's going to
said it.
over first, y'all. It's going to drop.
All right. Well, everybody have a great night. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Erika. Thanks, Charles. Thanks, Aileen.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.